Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. In today's video, we are going to be doing a money Q&A. I got some questions over on Instagram related to money, and so my intention is to answer all of those questions in today's video. So if that is of interest to you, then please keep watching. Okay, so the first question that I got is 5 or 10 ideas to get back on the budgeting journey. One suggestion, which may not be much of a suggestion to some, but I wholeheartedly swear by it, and that is basically to just throw away the rest of whatever month that you're in and start anew in that upcoming month. Only because if you don't really have a plan, if you're not really prepared, right now it's the end of May, and if you don't have a plan right now, you're not prepared, you don't have any real structure to how you're going to get back on the budgeting train, and you're not really too sure about what it is you're even trying to accomplish and all of that stuff, then I just feel like you might as well just take some time to spend the rest of this month trying to find some inspiration and some motivation, and then just start anew in the month of June. Of course, there's always, people always say you can always just start whenever. There's no magic time to when you want to start something. But when it comes to monthly budgeting, I do feel like, starting anew at the top of the month is what I would consider to be a good idea. Also, I would say to stop using credit cards, or to only use cash if you can before you begin this budgeting journey, because if you can, then that's going to prevent you from going any further into debt. If you are in debt, that's going to prevent you from having setbacks before you can even really get started on your journey. So I always recommend to just start anew with trying to only use cash, and budgeting with cash, and budgeting with the cash that you have. Another tip that I have is to go ahead and start working on that budget in advance. Again, the question was asked at the end of May, so I'm assuming it might be geared towards a person maybe starting anew now. And so my recommendation is to go ahead and start working on that June budget or that next month's budget, and start trying to map out what that's going to look like. That way, when you go into the month, you already have some direction and you already have a plan for what's going to happen, rather than not really knowing what the plan is for your money in that upcoming month. Another tip is to find an accountability partner. I just yesterday, my friend is moving out of an apartment, and they're moving into a new apartment, and it's been a month that she's been trying to pack up her room, because she has a room / office / reading nook / guest room, and she's been trying to pack up that room for what feels like a month. And I decided to force my way into her apartment and to help her, because once she told me that the room was embarrassing, and that's why she hasn't had any help, and that the room looks like depression, well, I took my happy self over there, because I love a challenge. I love to help. I love to do that type of stuff. And I literally just stood there. I kind of helped guide what the process was like. I'm like, okay, what have you done so far? Okay, let's start with this. Let's start with that. But basically, I was just a body there. And she was telling her boyfriend, or fiance, she was saying, see, I just need like an emotional support person. And I know people like that. I know people who, they really just need somebody there. Kind of puts a little pep in their step. And so I feel like you don't have to tell a person all of your financial business by any means, but just having an accountability partner. Like, she is trying to get back into budgeting, and I'm also her accountability partner in that way as well, because she's on a no spend right now for books, which is why I bought her a book, because I just feel like that might help to motivate her to finish out her no spend month, because she's doing pretty good with not buying books or book supplies. But anyway, sometimes you just need somebody to be like, hey, you told me that you were trying to do this. How have you come along? Which is what I asked when I was asking about how far she's come along with packing. Because I'm like, hey, I know you have to be gone and out of that apartment real soon. And I know you have a lot going on, because I know my friend, obviously, with other different things. So how is packing coming along? Well, it wasn't coming along that well. And of course, I forced my way into the home. But I'm just saying, sometimes you just need an emotional support person to even be able to talk to about what it is you're trying to accomplish, or just to hold you accountable. So if you can find an accountability partner, I highly recommend. I really truly feel like if you're trying to do something tough, sometimes we need people to support us. And so if you're trying to do something hard, which budgeting can be hard, you might need an emotional support person. Another tip is to map out the weeks and the months ahead, even the year ahead, because a lot of times when I'm doing budget coaching even, I find that people aren't really aware of what's happening or what's going to be happening. Like I was doing coaching with a person the other day, and I was asking, we were creating a budget, and I was asking about basically if she had any birthdays coming up, or if she was planning to do any giving or anything like that. And she was saying, can't really think of any right now, so maybe not. But me personally, I always know when birthdays are coming up and when I'm going to give a gift or maybe be expected to go on a trip. Like my one friend, all she wants to do on her birthday is take a trip. I don't take many trips. I take a couple trips per year. That's going to be one of them, hands down. We've been doing it for forever. So I know like what some expectations are for birthdays, and I know expectations around church or religious types of things and stuff like that. I'm quite prepared. There are some things that I'm not prepared for in any given month, some things that randomly pop up, which I have a category to capture that type of stuff. But for the most part, I'm quite prepared, not just with having a monthly budget, but I know based on my budget or based on what the month's happenings are going to be in the next couple of months happenings or whatever, I kind of pretty much know what to expect. I know about what our electricity bill is in this home each June and what the water bill typically is running us. And I'm quite prepared on how much we spend each week on groceries or what our gas habits are. So really just trying to map out that is helpful. Now, if you're just getting started with budgeting, I do wholeheartedly recommend going back at least a month, 3 months, up to 6 months would probably be max, to try to see what your habits have been. How much have you been spending on gas? Most people aren't really joyriding, so whatever you're spending on gas is probably what you can expect to spend on gas moving forward. Whereas groceries or restaurants or food might be different because people might go out to eat a whole ton, even though they don't necessarily need to, but that just might be an area where they spend a lot of money. But like I mentioned, it's much different from gas or what your water bill was or stuff like that. So the more that you can kind of map out and figure out what the month ahead is going to look like and what the months ahead are going to look like and how you're going to likely be spending your money, the better it will be. I don't know. I'm not a fan of just surprise expenses and stuff like that. So I try to budget based on facts and data and our spending habits. Another tip to get back into budgeting might be to start a new platform or use new tools. Maybe you've been using Excel and that's kind of a bore maybe, so you want to try Notion, because Notion is Excel on steroids and the new wave. So maybe you want to try out Notion, which is free. Maybe you want to buy a planner. Maybe you want to make your own planner in Canva, which would be free. Maybe you want to just try out a new system, because that might give you a little pep in your step. So I highly recommend, and that's why I change up my system regularly as well, which we'll talk about because I think that's a question. Another tip that I have is to draw motivation from others. Maybe you don't want to watch somebody on YouTube or, Instagram or something who makes double or triple the amount that you make, or whose lifestyle doesn't really line up with yours. But there are so many people on YouTube and Instagram and social media who are sharing how they're spending their money and what they're doing with their money. And that information is way more accessible now in 2023 than ever before. And so certainly you can find someone out there whose spending habits or lifestyle might align more with yours. And you can just draw some inspiration from there. You don't necessarily have to replicate their style. You don't have to even follow them regularly to keep up with them, but maybe that's where you get your initial motivation. I have to say that because I learned a lot from YouTube University back in 2017 before we started our financial journey. So I do have to throw that out there. And some people I have quit YouTube and I'm not really keeping up with or whatever, but I did learn a lot of things from different people in the beginning and drew inspiration and motivation from them. now that I've taken 10 minutes to answer that question, let's move on to the next question, which I don't think the rest of them are going to take this long. The next one is a student loan update. Well, a couple of years ago, we did a student loan update. Nothing has changed. Our student loans are in a forbearance. We are still planning to be student loan debt free by 2024. I don't know that I mentioned 2024 specifically in that update that I did. I did a whole student loan plan type of video in the thick of COVID. Of course, it's years later now, but that's still the plan. Nothing's changed. We haven't made any payments towards them. We're both on track to be student loan debt free by next year. And also, my husband just on 2 or 3 days ago paid his tuition for his master's degree. He starts school tomorrow to get his master's degree. We are paying cash for this. So basically, we're still on track to be student loan debt free by 2024. Another question is cooking a 3-course meal or a frugal at-home spa day. I guess they're asking about how one might budget, or what's an idea of a 3-course meal that I would prepare in the home, or that my husband would prepare, perhaps. And I'd have to say, I don't know that I have I don't know that I cook a 3-course meal. At minimum, I would prepare a salad and then a plate, which would be our entree, with maybe a meat and a couple of sides, like some vegetables and maybe a starch potentially. But we're not cooking 3-course meals over here. So I don't even know what a 3-course meal, unless it's like a salad, a soup, and then a meal, like an entree kind of thing. But yeah, that's what I would do. I would do a salad, a soup, and then a meat, like chicken or salmon or fish or something, and some sides, particularly some vegetable sides. If not 2 vegetables, then 1 vegetable and maybe 1 starch, like potatoes or something. That would be my suggestion, but we're not cooking 3-course meals over here. Another one is a frugal at-home spa day, which we've done before. So in our possession, we have all I do my own nails now. So we have all the nail supply. I do my own pedicures, manicures, all that kind of stuff. We have everything for that. So it's far cheaper to buy this stuff. What you would spend on 1 pedicure, you could probably get all of the tools, like an electric nail file or a regular nail file for sure, because that's like $1, or that's pennies for a regular nail file, and cuticle nippers and some good clippers and a scrub and all that kind of stuff for far cheaper than you would 1 pedicure. You can get a bunch of supplies to last you some months rather than pay for 1 pedicure. So the point is, we have all of that stuff here at home. I have scrubs here at home. I have masks here at home. Masks cost like $1 at Walmart or wherever, Ulta. We have moisturizers here. All of that stuff we have here. So the point is, we did do an at-home spa day that I posted online, but we had like the feet things that you put your feet in and they moisturize and all of that. We have all that stuff here. So basically, go to Dollar Tree, Dollar General, Walmart, buy you some at-home spa types of things. If you have some candles, light those. If you don't, buy you some of those out as well, particularly maybe some teacup candles, because that can set the ambiance in there. Is that what it's called? Teacup? I think so. And they're relatively cheap, and get your spa day on. So that's what I would recommend. I don't know that I do frugal at-home spa days necessarily, but I guess I just split it up. I do my nails one day, my feet one day, I do a mask the next day, I have eye masks, I have scrubs for my body, I have all of that. So go get you about $10 to $15 worth of stuff and have you an at-home spa day instead of paying someone to do that for you for that, it could be $50, $60, $70 plus dollars. And if you have a significant other or somebody who wants to touch you at least, or vice versa, you guys could give yourselves give each other massages if that's a part of a spa experience for you, and that's free. Use some lotion for your massage, some oil, and get it popping. That's my recommendation. The next question that I have is tips for hosting on a budget. So let me tell you, we bought this house, our first house, in December of 2019. COVID struck and shut down all operations. We did manage to have one housewarming party before things shut down. We were planning to have probably 2 or 3. We were going to have a friend's one. We were going to have like a coworker one, a friend's one, like a close friend's one, and then a family one, which sounds dramatic. But the reason why we were doing that is because our living space, which is this space, isn't that big. It can fit 1, 2, I think I'll say 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We can seat comfortably 15. We have other chairs we can bring in to seat more people, but basically we don't have enough space in this house to host 30, 40, 50 people at a time. And so we were just going to break up the housewarming parties, but COVID. So it wasn't until this past October 2022, when we felt like people were out and about, people were vaccinated, we could get the parties started again. Because that's one of the perks of moving from a smaller apartment to a larger home, is that you have more space, thus you can host more. So our first party was not really a budget party. It was a wine tasting. We brought in people from a vineyard, or they kind of have like a wine shop. They came in and they did the wine tasting for us. We paid for that. That was actually just under $300. And we had 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, I think 12 bottles of wine. She brought 2 of each one that we chose. So we chose, I think, 6 different wines, and then we got 2 bottles. And then they left whatever we didn't drink, and we gave away some bottles, stuff like that. So that one wasn't quite cheap, but it was fun. And we did choose to buy food. We just wanted people to come to that. But that's not actually how we plan to host moving forward. So since October, we've had 3 or 4 more parties. And let me tell you what I have found to be the sweet spot. So we buy a little decor. And most of the decor comes from Party City because we get an educator's discount. If not, from Amazon, you can get a bundle of everything you might need, like a banner and some streamers and some things that hang from the ceiling and a tablecloth and all of that. And if you're delicate, you can reuse it. So we plan to reuse all that stuff. So we don't plan to keep buying more and more decor at all. After we get to December, we'll have everything that we need, basically. You know, we'll have Cinco de Mayo stuff and St. Patrick's Day stuff and Juneteenth stuff. So we won't be buying a lot more decor moving forward. So that's what I tell myself. Even if we buy a banner that's like $10, I'm like, I don't really want to buy a banner for a party, but we plan to reuse everything. So I keep telling myself that. Also though, in addition to buying your relatively inexpensive decor that you still could use in the future. So I don't buy Dollar Tree decor. I buy stuff that I can reuse. So in addition to that, what I also find to be a helpful tip is only buy some stuff that is on theme. Some stuff can not necessarily be on theme. Like for Cinco de Mayo, we had Cinco de Mayo colors and decor, and maybe our napkins were Cinco de Mayo themed, but our plates and forks and stuff were not. You know, we didn't buy on Cinco de Mayo plates or bowls or saucers or anything like that. So that's a recommendation. Also, the decor, it's a nice touch. It makes it more festive, but in the grand scheme of things, it's really not that deep to go all out on decor for a party. So remind yourself of that. Also, we do DIY things. You know, I have a silhouette. So most of the things I do using silhouette for like little crafts and stuff, or little games and things that we play here at home. Anything I can DIY at home, I do. Same goes for the games that we play. I've bought games before, but most of them are free. I just type in free adult Cinco de Mayo games or St. Patrick's Day games. And I have a printer and ink here at home. So I print everything here at home. I don't have to pay for it, you know, elsewhere. It's not an additional cost. I just print it all here at home. And then that leaves the big part, I would say, is the food and the drinks. So if you're not drinking alcohol, then drinks are going to be cheap. If you are going to be drinking alcohol, then I say just pick a signature drink and make a bunch of it, and then people can drink out of it, but also encourage guests to bring their own bottles so that they can drink their drink of choice and share with other people. So luckily, all our people are into sharing, so they'll just bring stuff and then we share it. And when it comes to the food, we normally like to buy the big meat, like the big hefty part of the meal. Maybe it's a bunch of chicken wings or whatever the case is. We also might make some sides, but we encourage other people to bring an on-theme side as well. So therefore, we're just really buying the meat, spending a good chunk of money on the meat or that main dish that's going to actually fill up people, that protein, and then everyone else brings in something. Even still though, if you wanted to have a little cookout and you wanted to do hot dogs, chicken wings, hamburgers, and some sides, maybe some chilies, some baked beans, some baked macaroni or something, all of that can be relatively inexpensive, but we do try to we have encouraged everyone to bring something. Now at our next party, one person has volunteered to prepare all the food. So I'm not sure what I'm gonna have guests bring. I think I'm gonna have them just bring like a dessert or a bottle, like either sign up to bring, or like an appetizer, an hors d'oeuvre, or a dessert or a drink of some sort, even if it's non-alcoholic. So we might not be spending any money for Juneteenth. Actually, I lied, because we're gonna decorate. We are going to take care of the decorating for Juneteenth, and then we're gonna not have to do anything else. So, you know, if you don't want to go all out, and if people are willing, like this person volunteered to make us she's from, I don't know if it's like the Virgin Islands or St. Martin. I could be making it up, but she's gonna make like jerk chicken, curry chicken, all of that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's another tip that I have. Another question on here is tips for choosing a credit card. And I would say, in theory, you want the one that has the least interest rate, because if you ever do find yourself caught up in not being able to pay off your credit card in full by the time that it's due, you're going to have to pay interest. And if that's the case, you do want to pay as little interest as you possibly can. So that's one tip. Another one is try to think about what you might use it for. So we put all of our purchases on our credit card, and originally we had a credit card where we got cash back on every purchase. Now we have a travel credit card. Why? Because we're trying to travel for less. We're trying to use the money so that we can have, because we don't really go many places. We might, and by that I mean we might stay at a hotel here for a night or here for a night, but we're not in Switzerland for a week, or, you know, across the world or across the country for days at a time. We just are kind of overnighters, and so we want to have those hotel stays especially paid for with our credit card points. So just kind of think about how you might use it. But basically, if you're going to use one, you definitely should choose one that has some cash back, because that's free money that you'll be getting. Also, you want to consider the fee. Sometimes there's a monthly fee, oftentimes there's an annual fee. So you really have to sit and think, am I going to use this card enough to justify this fee? Some fees are $25 a year. Some fees are $95 a year. Some are $400 a year, $600 a year. So am I going to use this card enough to justify this fee? What's the purpose of me even having this card? You have to really think that through, because that will help you decide what card you want it, or what card you will get. Another question that I have on here is, did you mention once you use electronic cash envelope method, a review of that? So let's talk about that. Let's share my screen. Actually, let me get in here first and then I'll share my screen. So we currently use Ally, which is a mobile bank that we love. We've been using Ally for a very, very long time, years in fact. And so we're back using cash envelopes. No, we're not using cash envelopes. We're back using sinking funds, but they are online. It's an electronic method for sinking funds. But you can use it for cash envelopes if you wished, but we don't use cash envelopes because it's too much work and I can't be bothered. But we do have sinking funds. Right now, you're looking at our different sinking funds. We have core savings, which that's just where our interest goes. With Ally, we get that the APY is quite high. I think it's is somewhere between 3% and 4% right now. That means that based on the amount of money that we have in the account and how much we keep in the account, we earn an interest on that. And they pay that to us in our core savings. So it really just exists for a holding spot for that money, or any money that I transfer in. I normally just hold it in core savings before I distribute it. But right now we have a bucket for, that's what we call it. They call them buckets. We have one for our HOA fees, which we're saving up so we can pay them next January. They are $200. We have a home one, which is going to be for our termite control, saving up to pay it in December, which is $300. We have Sirius XM, which technically I just paid, so I need to transfer this money out of here. But I was thinking I could also just not transfer it out of here, take the money from shopping, from the shopping category, which I've done, and then have a leg up on our next payment, which is due in October. I'll have to add maybe $20 more with it and we'll be good. We also have Walmart Plus, which that one is fully funded. It is due in June at $98, so we'll have a couple dollars left over, and then I'll restart the process of saving. And what I do is I divide the amount that we need by the months that we have left to get the money. So in June, I can go ahead and pay Walmart Plus at the beginning of the month when it's due, and then I'll take 98. I put 100 in here because why not? But 98 divided by 12, and I'll start saving that amount each month. And then Progressive is our car insurance, which we pay every 6 months. It's due in June. It's going to be $1,135. We have $823 saved. So what I'm going to do is at the beginning of June, as I always do, that's when I make the transfers at the beginning of the month, as soon as I get paid, my first payday, because that's the first payday we get. Or if we have some money left over in our, like just in the account naturally, I go ahead and I make the transfer to the different sinking funds. And I know how much I'm saving each month based on the amounts that I have decided that we're going to save each month for each bucket. So we save $225 each month. So at the beginning of June, I'm just going to make the transfer to put that at 1135. So that's kind of like an update. We're not really saving for things that are unexpected in this account, like car repairs. They're going to happen, but we don't know when they'll happen. These are just for those ones that are, we know how much around, we know they're expected. So that's the only thing that I can wrap my brain around. Otherwise, we just save money in a savings account for everything else in life. Another person, or the same person, is asking budget finance apps that we are using in 2023 and how to find planner events in my area. So for the planner events one, I belong to a planner group in Georgia, and whatever events they have, big or small, I attend those. I don't really attend other ones unless I'm called to speak there, and then I'll go there. But otherwise, I don't really go to different ones outside of my area or different ones in general. But basically, go on Facebook, type in, if you're in, let's say, Orlando, Florida, type in Orlando, Florida planners, Orlando, Florida planner, type in Florida planner, Sunshine State planners. I think that's like an official group. And you also have to remember, I go to recurring small events that my people have, but some larger planner groups and companies will have their event maybe in your area, even though they're not actually housed there, because they might really be in New York. Like the Sugary Gal shop, as an example, she's based out of New York, but she'll take the Sugary Gal shop event to different cities or go wild. So just keep that in mind, that there might randomly be a large event in your area. You just have to really join groups on Facebook, truly. And if you are, let's say you use Happy Planner, then join Happy Planner groups so you can stay in the know. And they talk about all the different events and they have different spin-offs of the groups, all of that stuff over on Facebook. So definitely you have to go to Facebook. I actually haven't been on Facebook in like a year, so I don't really know what's happening over there. But last time I checked, that is what was happening. Regarding the budget or finance apps that we're using, I am still using Notion, which I did a tour of my Notion, and each month I budget in Notion. I use Fudget sometimes when I'm trying to devise a a small budget, like a quick plan for something. Like when I was adding up how much money we had to pay for taxes, I just used Fudget to make that budget. So I've done a Fudget review before. And then I also will sometimes reference Every Dollar, which I've done multiple reviews on that and multiple videos about Every Dollar. But those are the ones that we're using right now. Another question is selecting a financial advisor, the costs and benefits you've experienced having one. The cost is minimal. Most financial advisors are going to take, it's going to be, 0.5%, 1%. It's going to be quite minimal. It's going to seem like a lot until you start earning a lot. It's in their benefit to still charge a lesser percentage, because once your portfolio grows to a certain amount, they'll get more based on how much you have in your portfolio. But all in all, it's really a small percentage, just usually across the board. And the benefits is that we have someone who we can consult with at any time for any reason about anything, and just an accountability person to hold us accountable, because otherwise we probably would spend all of our money instead of investing it at the rate that we invest. And I say the best benefit is that we have someone teaching us and helping us and guiding us, but also a person who invests our money for us because they know what we want and what we've agreed on. So it just takes the legwork out of having to deal with it at all. Another question that I have is summer planning tips. I don't really know what that means. I guess it's about I'm assuming maybe because we work in public education, that this person might be aware of that, and they might be asking like what plans we have for the summer. And to answer that, or I don't know, but to answer that, one thing that I have been doing is budgeting more for spending in the summer, because if we're home for months at a time, and even my niece normally comes for the summer, it's going to be a guarantee that we're going to spend more money being at home more. You might think that it would not be that way because we're at home, but we like to take her places and try new things. And I don't know, just sitting in the house 7 days a week is a little bit boring. And we do a lot of free events. So that's a tip. I look up, I do that around the clock. Free events, I'm your girl. But some events like Six Flags, we took her, and stuff like that, that's going to cost money. Wasn't that much because we have an educator's discount. So our tickets were like 20 something a piece. It was like $60, $70 for us to go one random summer day. So we went up, and went and came back and stuff. But yeah, basically I plan to spend more money in the summer. Now, as for trips, we have only one really, and it's really not even summer because I'll be back in school. But I have to go we have a family reunion, and that's it. It's at home, so we're going to stay with my friend. I won't really be spending much money because I have to pay dues up front, which is, I think, $50 per household. And that'll cover the cost that covers the cost of food and all the entertainment. So we'll have to just drive there. So that's going to be quite cheap. We're not planning to go anywhere else necessarily. So I guess I just plan to just overall spend more on little things throughout the month, like maybe, our date nights, or some of our outings include my niece and stuff like that. So we just plan to spend more money than what we normally would be. So I would say right now, I try to budget probably $400 more per month at minimum. I'm expecting to spend at least $400 more on a little bit more food, and because she has to eat healthy when she's here, because that's how we eat. No, I'm not gonna say that. She buys Hot Pockets and other types of things, but for the most part, if I'm primarily buying healthy foods, I'm just gonna buy more healthy foods to accommodate her as well, rather than a bunch more stuff that she likes or eats. So she does enjoy smoothies and stuff like that with me when she's here. And when we go out to eat, that's going to be another person to feed, a bigger person at that. At her age of 14. So just budgeting probably like $100 more per week, which is a little dramatic. But again, we might go off to Six Flags for the day, which, like I mentioned, $60, $70 for all of us. We might do something like that, like a bigger type of more fun activity. She definitely doesn't want things like clothes and shoes and stuff, so that's good. But that is my summer planning tip. Another question is, do you still mentor the kids? Like, are you still involved with that group? I'm nosy. That's so funny. The friend that I was talking about earlier who needed the emotional support person, she was the person who I met at one of my first jobs when I moved to Georgia like 8 years ago, I think. And we've been cool ever since, closer now actually. She was the person, or is the person, who had that group, but she stopped it a couple of years ago, and so the group resolved, so I'm not a part of it because of that. But one of my girls is my mentees, lives up the one who lives up the street. She's graduating next week, so I've been getting her stuff for her graduation. So I was just telling her the other day, I'm like, can you believe that she is graduating high school? We started with her, or me especially, she was maybe 13, 12 or something. She was a younger girl, and she's about to graduate. And the other one, who you may have seen in my videos, she's in Paris studying abroad. Spain? Where'd that girl at? Paris, studying abroad. So these folks are in college, graduating high school. It's kind of wild. So I still keep in touch with a good amount of them, but I'm technically not still involved. Even though when we were cleaning out her apartment, her room, we found a lot of the stuff from when we were doing the group or whatever. So no, I'm not involved technically, but I still am, but the group doesn't exist, so I'm involved with the group members outside of the group. Another question is how to make a good plan for your money after you are debt free. So, this kind of is going to vary person by person. Personally, I feel like after I'm debt free, which the plan will be minus the mortgage next year, my then plan is to invest at a higher rate. Because if I'm not, well, let me back up. We have a car loan. The plan is to have that paid off around the same time. The student loans are supposed to be paid off. But so let's assume, I've kind of forgotten about it. I've kind of forgotten about our goal of paying off the car at the same time the student loans are paid off. But let's say that that's still the plan. We'll have to revisit that, my husband and me. But if I don't have any car loan debt or student loan debt or any monthly payments in that way, then to me it makes more sense to put that money where it's going to work most for me, which is going to be in the stock market. However, some people might think that investing in real estate is a way to go. But I really think if you have excess money, that money should really be invested. But I'm not a financial advisor, so do not take that as financial advice. But that's just my thought. Otherwise, I don't really know that when we're completely debt free, we'll really change our spending habits. Like, it's not like we're going to be going on 10 more dates a month now because we have more money, because that's just not our vibe. So to me, it would be to keep our spending the same and then just roll that money into something more relevant. Even the car note, I was thinking too, we could then start, once that's paid off, saving the equivalent of a car note in a savings account. So when it comes time to buy our next car, we'll have either a really large down payment or we can buy a car in cash. So I think I'm always going to say that if you have spare money and you don't really know what to do with it, I'm always going to say that investing it is a good idea, because we know the rate of return and we know the positivity that can come from investing money. Someone also asked, how are you budgeting for summer plans, travel, family visiting, extra activities? I guess I just kind of covered that. In the summer, we kind of just do whatever. We don't really have really much plans. I just expect to spend more money in the summer. All right, my next question is, when did you start investing, and did you learn from a course or from an expert? We learned from our financial advisor. Of course, people will talk about investing online, and I paid attention to it, and I still pay attention to it. But if it's not really making sense, I'm going to ask my financial advisor, A, because he's a financial advisor, and B, because I pay him to financially advise. So I go straight to the financial advisor. And we started investing heavily in 2021. He also advises us too when it comes to our jobs and our pensions and retirement plans there, and helps advise us in that way. But yeah, we really started investing. What did I just say? Did I lie? We really started investing in 2021, and all that we've learned about investing has taken place since then. My last question is, when did you know it was time to hire someone to help with your finances? So I didn't need to hire someone until it came to investing. Saving money and learning how to save is information you can get from any person on the street. Budgeting, same thing. Tips on spending and where to spend and stuff like that, you can get that online from any random person who has the ability. To me, it's the equivalent of if someone asked me, due to all of my training and such and my schooling on coping skills and emotional regulation, if someone asked me a question or was concerned or curious about maybe a coping strategy that they might be able to implement in their lives, I would be a person who could tell them about that because I'm a professional. But there is somebody else on the street who could tell them about that equally the same, because maybe they found success either from a professional or just something that, they've just found success on their own. And I think of it the same way when it comes to a financial advisor. Sure, there are people who know about investing out there, but when it comes to investing, I would like to have help from a person who has that background, because again, that's what I'm paying them for, but also because that's their area of expertise. So I didn't feel like I needed help with anything until it came time to really start investing, because I did not have the knowledge about that. And I know that other people do, but to me, it just made sense to go to a professional to hear what they had to say. And luckily we found someone that we really like, and that's kind of how that worked. Okay, you guys, so that's going to be it for today's video. Those are some of my thoughts on money related things. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and if you're liking what you're seeing, and I will catch you guys right back here in a few days in a brand new video. Bye guys.